Welcome everyone to webinar number 2. I appreciate you taking the time out to watch these webinars. They're a lot of fun for me to put this information together and to share it. So if you're making it to this webinar, if you're here with me today, first thing I got to do is apologize. If you've watched webinar number 1, I know I packed a lot of information into that first webinar. I kind of like turning on the fire hose and just going at it. So I apologize first and foremost about all the information of webinar number 1. I hope you found it valuable. I promise you webinar number 2, this webinar, is really more focused around solutions. And with that being said, we're going to dive right into it. So webinar number 1, obviously problems with traditional retirement planning. Wanted to leave no stone unturned there and really dive into it. This one, it's all about putting you in a position where ultimately we can focus on what it is you're really saving for anyway, which is retirement. And this webinar is really all about that. It's a 2-part webinar series. Number 1, to show you what's not working, but number 2, to show you what is working and what you can do right now to have a better income in retirement, to enjoy what you've been working so hard for such a long time. So this webinar specifically is for people who are already in retirement and are looking for a better way to sustain and support their retirement lifestyle, or people who are getting ready to make that transition into retirement. If you're 5 years away from it, this webinar is for you. If not, great information in here. Please feel free to continue to watch, but if you're not in that category, this webinar is probably not for you. So my goal in this webinar is really to put you in a position where at the end of the day, you can walk away or walk into retirement happy with peace of mind. So I've got the unique privilege of working with clients in all different walks of life from all different parts of the country. And one resounding theme I hear from so many people is they approach retirement with so much trepidation, so much anxiety and concern about if it's really going to work out, right? They've worked so hard for so long, and based on the financial tools and systems that they're using, they're not really able to retire with what they hoped for or thought they might have. So my goal is to show you how we can shift that. Now, not that money equals happiness, but if you can have the peace of mind knowing that your retirement is funded and secured, you can focus on the things that do make you happy. You can focus on spending more time with your family, or on traveling, or on picking up some of the hobbies that you didn't have time for as you were preparing for retirement. So that's really the goal, is to help put you in a position to where you can retire happy. So how do we do this? Ultimately, what I'm going to show you here is how we can generate more retirement income, oftentimes 20 to 80% more, without doing anything other than switching what tools you're using right now, and ultimately having the peace of mind of never running out of income in retirement. So that is ultimately the goal of this webinar, is showing you how to get more income, which is the whole purpose of what you've saved for up to this point anyway, from the assets that you already have, and also have the peace of mind of not running out of income, which ultimately comes back to then focusing on what retirement's all about. So to recap really quick, in the first webinar, we covered all of the challenges faced with, that most people face as they move into retirement planning. And I know this is a bold, blunt statement to say that traditional retirement planning has failed, but it's true. For most people, traditional retirement planning has failed. It's not working. And if we continue to use the same models and the same strategies over and over and over again, expecting a different outcome, then we've got to ask some different questions. So the reason retirement planning has failed is by and large one thing. The tools that are used today by most financial planners are tools that are all built around assumptions. Your assumptions might be better than my assumptions. Your financial advisor's assumptions might be different than your assumptions or your CPA's assumptions, but nonetheless, it doesn't matter. They're all almost all assumptions. So as you're going up that proverbial financial mountain, right, the assumptions that most people make as they're accumulating their assets are: how much accumulated assets do they need? What type of net worth do we need? What's the inflation rate going to be, and how is that going to affect income? And by the way, let's guess how long we're going to live, and let's see how that affects how much assets I need to prepare for retirement. As you're coming down this proverbial financial mountain, the assumptions that we make is how much annual income we can safely take from your assets with the smallest probability of running out of money, before it's too late. And some of the things, some of those assumptions that make that difficult is, what is the market going to do? How is the volatility of the market going to impact our income stream? And what will ultimately taxes be or do? And how will that impact our retirement stream? But at the end of the day, it's all a guess. Your guess is as good as my guess. So my goal here in this webinar is to show you how we can replace assumptions with control and replace assumptions with certainty and give you the peace of mind that you have a foundation to stand on and going into retirement with more confidence and more control. So, the way to think about this is just to do a really quick, brief walk back through time and ask, what did ultimately happen to happily ever after? Believe it or not, there was a time in this country where you could retire happily ever after. Remember those stories of people retiring from a company that they had spent the better part of their career with, right? They had a big party on their last day. They got their legendary gold watch. And then more importantly, they walked out the front doors of their company with a pension. That pension, along with Social Security, covered the bulk of their retirement needs. And then you just needed your personal savings as kind of the cream on the crop or the icing on the cake. In those days, most people could truly walk into retirement with peace of mind because their income was fixed. It was solid. It was guaranteed. It was a pension. So what did happen to those good old days? Well, if we turn on the news media today, we realize that the good old days are truly gone for most retirement planners or for most retirees. Headline after headline, news outlet after news outlet, podcast after podcast, no matter where you turn, where you look, this is what we encounter. Our next big crisis will be a retirement crisis. 77% of Americans don't know how much money their retirement savings they can safely spend each year without the risk of outliving their assets. There's a looming retirement crisis. Boomers are in big trouble. Retirement is going away. 61% of retirees are more concerned about outliving their money than they are about dying. This is what has happened to the good old days, right? And this is what happens when our financial plan is based and built off of assumptions. We cannot move into retirement with peace of mind and confidence when we move into retirement with assumptions. So really, to kind of prove this out before we jump into the solutions, I want to show you the really simple way to approach retirement planning is just to shift one variable, one thing. Number one, you cannot, in most cases, solve the retirement dilemma, and more specifically your retirement dilemma if you have one, by earning a higher rate of return. Yet every piece of marketing and almost every piece of information that we get from traditional financial sources is all about where we can and should put our money to earn a higher rate of return. And this is at the crux of the problem. Your retirement, the retirement problem will not be solved by earning a higher rate of return. The real solution is making one simple shift, and it's focusing on putting your assets, putting the money that you've already accumulated in a place that will give you a better distribution rate or a better stream of income. So to prove this out, let's just do a quick little case study, okay? Okay, so let's say we've got our retiree or pre-retiree here, right? And let's say that this person is 55 and they desire to retire at age 65. We'll just use pretty traditional numbers here, okay? To kind of make this, let's say that this person has $500,000 of assets saved so far, and feeling pretty good, $500,000 of assets saved so far. And the goal is they want to have $50,000, or this person wants to have $50,000 of income coming from savings. So this doesn't include Social Security or a pension or anything like that. They want to have $50,000 of income coming from savings. Now, this individual, if they follow traditional retirement planning, they would follow the 4% rule, right? And I'm going to make this red here just to kind of show, it's probably not going to work. But if they're going to use the 4% rule, in webinar number 1, we looked at the rule of 25. So we're going to pull down a couple of calculators here really quick. All right, let's clear them out. So if we want $50,000 of annual income, we're going to use the rule of 25. So $50,000 times 25. And what that tells us is we need to have $1.2 million of accumulated assets, right? So if we take this $1.2 million and we multiply it by 4%, that's where we get our $50,000 of income, okay? So if the individual has $500,000 of savings set aside right now, and now we know that he needs to have $1.25 million, he has 10 years to do it, we now realize that using this 4% rule, that he needs to have, where did that calculator go? All right, let's put you on top. So now this individual needs to have 9.6% annual rate of return to grow his assets from $500,000 to $1.2 million. So when someone sits down and does that type of planning using this type of model, number one, there's a lot of cracks in the 4% rule, but number two, how confident does this individual feel that they can take $500,000 and grow it to 1.2, earning a consistent 9.6% rate of return between 55 and 65? If you're like most people would kind of shut down and say, that's impossible. It's not going to work. I can't do it. And at that point, everything starts to change. They have to rethink retirement. Maybe they work longer. Maybe they take less income. Maybe they take more risk. Whatever it might be, retirement now starts to become more of a pipe dream than an actual reality. If we shift one thing around and we say, okay, what if we refocus our efforts and we start putting our assets in positions that will generate more income? And what if we move to a 6.5% distribution rate, right? What would that one little shift do for this individual? So if we take this 6.5% and we say, okay, we want to have $50,000 of accumulated savings, right? So I'm going to take $50,000, I'm going to divide it by 6.5%, and what this tells us is this individual now needs to have $769,000 in assets. If we take that $769,230 and we multiply it by 6.5%, that's our $50,000 of income. So now this individual says, okay, I've got $500,000 of income. Now I just need to grow it to $769,230. And to do that, this individual would now only need a 4.4% rate of return. This one shift just made retirement planning completely possible. This is doable, this is likely, this is very achievable, and now this person, just by making the shift of where they will put their money to focus more specifically on income, which is what they're saving for anyway, it changes the whole equation. So this ultimately is the solution, right? So let's break this down into three smaller solutions, three smaller steps. So the three solutions we're going to go through on this webinar is, number one, how we can eliminate market risk, market volatility. A lot of the 4% and a lot of these withdrawal rate rules are all based on the fact that most people have their money associated in the market, and the market goes up and the market goes down. And so we have to take a small income or distribution to make sure that we can last all of those ups and downs. So how do we eliminate the market risk going into retirement? And ultimately, what is the outcome? How do we increase our income as a result? Solution number two is, how can we have a retirement paycheck for life and ultimately increase our income as a result? And solution number three kind of brings it all together: how to ensure you never run out of money and still have a legacy to pass on, and oh yeah, by the way, increase your income as a result. So those are the three things we're going to go through in this webinar. Sit down, buckle up. It's probably going to be about 40 minutes. So take some notes, pause it, make it go faster if you want. But solution number one, how to eliminate market volatility in retirement and increase your income as a result. So to really kind of flesh this out, well, I want to go through a little bit of just a thought process, right? Right now, as you are preparing for retirement, where does your income come from, right? It really comes from your working, right? As you're going up this proverbial financial mountain, your lifestyle, your income is coming specifically from your efforts. And when there's a market loss, right? If you've got your money associated or saving in a 401k or an IRA, we see those accounts go up and we see them go down. But when you're working, if we have a drop in account value, does that impact your lifestyle at all? Right? It doesn't. It might make you a little bit less confident and you might not spend quite as much money, but ultimately you still pay your mortgage, the lights are still on, you still put food on the table because your lifestyle is being supported by you, by your working, by your employment, right? As we cross this threshold and we retire, we start to come down the mountain. And what happens now is, rather than you working, your money now begins to work. And your money is now what is producing your income. And if there is a market downturn, if the market has a 20% drop, it has a double negative impact, right? Because your income, your lifestyle, your retirement is supported by your money at work, your savings at work. And if the market goes down and you take money out to support your lifestyle, there's a double negative impact on that. So most people today have the majority of their savings as they're going up this proverbial, path here. Most of the people have their money associated with the stock market. And if we just look, I just grabbed a 15-year kind of sample of what the stock market is. Most people see this, they feel it. So you have to ask your question, do you want this when you're in retirement? So from year 2000 all the way up to 2014, the market has returned a total of 29, almost 30%. But look at the roller coaster we've had to go on to get it, right? If you've been in the market and you got everything, the best that the market offered and the worst that it had to offer, you lost 50% between 2000 and 2003. You then got it all back plus some. You gained back 100%, which made up for some of the losses in the beginning. But then you lost it all over again in 2008. And now the market's back up again, and this roller coaster continues to ride. The average return has been about 2.1%. Adjusted for inflation, it's down negative 6.8%. But the whole question is, what does this have to do with retirement? It has everything to do with retirement, right? This volatility is by default what makes it absolutely essential that you take a lower distribution. If you keep your money associated with the market, then you have to take a lower stream of income from your account simply so you can ride out all the ups and downs. And it doesn't matter if you rebalance your portfolio, there will always be volatility in the market. So we did that little case study in webinar number 1, right? And we did Mr. Smith with investments of $1 million and Miss Jones with the same investments. They had an allocation, 60% stocks, 40% bonds. And the only difference was when they retired. Mr. Smith retired in 69 and Miss Jones retired in 79. Mr. Smith was completely out of money in about 15 years. Whereas Miss Jones, she persisted and made it all the way through retirement. And the only difference was the volatility that one experienced versus the other. So if we want to eliminate all of this volatility, Wall Street has a solution for you. And Wall Street's solution is what we kind of uncovered last time, right? Wall Street's solution is we don't know how long you're going to live, right? A male on average lives somewhere between 90 and 95. A female lives around that same time. But when you put a male and a female together, there's a 52% chance that one of them is going to live at least 30 years. So in order to combat that, Wall Street says, hey, take withdrawal rates, safe withdrawal rates. It used to be the 4% rule. Now, if you want your money to last, 20 years with less than a 1% probability of failure, you have to take a 3.1% withdrawal. If you want it to last 25 years, a 2.3%, and a 30-year, a 1.8% withdrawal. All that means is these accounts, they're not focused on the one thing you truly want. What is that one thing? It's income. That's really all it is. So the real solution to all of this is in retirement, what we really want is we want a pension-like income. And there are companies, there are ways to do this. So during the good old days of retirement security came, during the good old days, retirement security came from pensions. It didn't come from managing market risk and rebalancing your portfolio and taking a 4% or a 2% or a 3% withdrawal. It came from pensions. You had an agreement with your employer to work for a given period of time, and your employer gave you an agreement that once you had done your side of the work, you'd worked your years, then that your employer's agreement was that they would give you a paycheck for life in the form of a pension. So pension would be what would support you through retirement, and then when you retired, when you walked out those front doors with your gold watch and your pension, you knew exactly what was going to come in. And it didn't matter what the market did. You could plan for and budget your retirement around your pension. And then when you add in Social Security on top of that, your savings was really just icing on the cake. Today, for most people, pensions are a relic of the past. And more people are responsible for providing all or most of their retirement income. So building off the example that we did, if we can take a step back from our savings and realize that what we really want, the one thing we're really saving for, is we want a consistent pension-like income. Then we can identify and accomplish this feat by understanding what we're trying to accomplish. By shifting our focus to income, we can stop worrying as much about the growth rates and focus more specifically on the distribution rates, on how to maximize income and make sure that it lasts. So that's solution number one, is shifting our focus and not being so focused on growth, which is people default to the market for that, but being more focused on income. So how do we do this, right? Solution number two is how we can get a retirement paycheck for life and, oh yeah, increase our income as a result. So that's really what we're going to transition to in solution number two. Let's dive right in. All right, so let's go into solution number two. All right, so solution number two, how to have a paycheck for life. We're going to start off with a word that is probably one of the most loved and maybe even hated words out there. But believe it or not, before we get into what an annuity is and how it can work, insurance, the insurance industry in general, insurance companies, they were built for markets and conditions like the ones that we are facing right now. The reason that most people have so much trouble and so many challenges with their retirement planning is they're trying to use tools that there's no guarantees, there's no control, and it's all based on assumptions. Insurance companies operate the exact opposite way. Their business is built on guarantees. Their business is built on control. Their business is built on long-term sustainable success. And an annuity in its simplest form can be the real solution to the income problem that we're discussing. So if you're like most people out there, you either love or maybe possibly hate annuities, and there's reason for both. So today, as more and more boomers are entering into retirement, annuities have been sold as kind of the one-size-fits-all solution for every financial problem out there. I've been to annuity presentations where they tell us, hey, your money's associated with the stock market, and when the market goes up, you get what the market gets, and when it goes down, there's a floor. You never lose money. This isn't the case. Insurance companies aren't magicians. They can't pull a rabbit out of a hat. And I'm going to give you a really simple way to look at annuities and to kind of weed through all of the marketing and all the fluff out there and really find the one or the very few minority of annuities that are really designed to do one thing. At the end of the day, annuities are simple tools. When used the right way, they're meant to accomplish one thing, which is income. So to start off, let's establish what an annuity is at a very basic level. Quite simply, an annuity is an asset trade, right? So you trade a sum of money with the insurance company, and the insurance company turns around and trades you a guaranteed stream of income. That's it. That's really all it is. Simple annuities like this have been around since the Roman Empire. So annuities have been around for a long, long time. But today, many annuities have become somewhat distorted, and because of that distortion, it's very, very costly for many people because they're not just based or they're not just designed for income. They're designed for all kinds of different things out there. So again, we're going to go through how to distinguish a good annuity from a bad annuity pretty quickly here in just a minute. But quite simply, an annuity is a retirement paycheck, right? And that's kind of where we started. We started with that mountain analogy, and when you're going up the mountain and you're working for income, when the market goes down, it's no fun, but it doesn't impact your lifestyle because your paycheck comes from your employment. When you're in retirement, your paycheck comes from your assets. It comes from your savings. And an annuity is a way to convert a portion of your savings into a paycheck. Or, another way to say this would be a private pension, right? And really, that's really what it is. Basically, an annuity is a private pension funded by you and your accumulated savings, and it's facilitated by a company that is built on managing risk, which is an insurance company. You trade a sum of money with the insurance company, and the insurance company trades you a guaranteed stream of income that you cannot outlive. This is really it. Simple annuities like this have actually been around for a long, long time and can be used as part of your retirement profile to give you exactly what you're looking for, which is income. So let's talk about how insurance companies do this, because again, I think many annuities today, they're sold like magic hocus pocus tricks that, if the market does this, you still get the best that it has to offer. And if it does that, you don't lose anything. And we lose so much of what an annuity is really designed to do. So an annuity at its simplest core is a way to take income, and it's not based on market performance. It's based on science, it's based on math, it's based on actuarial data. So if we were to get 4 friends together, okay? And let's say that each one of these friends, let's say that they're all female, they're all the same age, so let's just say that each one of these females are all age 60. They all get together, and they decide to take $100 each one, and they take this $100 and they decide to put it in a shoebox. Okay, that's all it is. So each one of these females, they get together and they say, hey, let's just do a little experiment. Let's put $100 in a shoebox and let's go bury that money in the backyard. So each one of them take their $100, they put it in the box, they bury the money in the backyard, and they leave it, right? They don't think about it, they don't do anything with it, and they decide to come back a year from now. So a year from now, this female, let's say she starts calling all of the other friends that went into this agreement together, and they say, okay, we're going to have our annual meeting, and we're going to go back to the shoebox where we buried our $100, and we're going to dig it up, and we're going to talk about the money that's in the box. So as this female's making these calls, she makes the call, and female number 2 here is on board. She's coming to the annual meeting. Female number 3, again, on board, coming to the annual meeting. But as these calls are going out, we realize that female number 4 has passed away. What that ultimately means is this $100, it's still in the box, but female number 4 here is no longer around to collect on that $100. So what that really means from a mathematical standpoint, we can take that $100 and we can divide it by 3, and now say the remaining 3 females get to split it amongst themselves, and now they have $133, each of them, in their box, right? That has the effect of a 33% increase simply based on math, based on life expectancy. And at the end of the day, that's all an annuity really is. Life insurance companies have no idea how long you're going to live. They have no idea how long I'm going to live. But when they can collect data on a large group of people for hundreds of years, they can take a large group of people and say, I know on average how long every single person in the room will live. And some of them will live a little bit longer, and some of them will live a little bit, less time. But it's all based on life expectancy. It has nothing to do with the markets. So insurance companies are the only companies that can do this for you. Insurance companies are uniquely positioned because they work with so many people to determine how long people collectively live. They don't know how long each individual person is going to live, but they do know how long a large group of people will live, almost to the exact day. And it's crazy. It's really true. Almost to the exact day, they can predict life expectancy. Because they know how long everyone is likely to live collectively, they can pay each person as though they knew exactly when each person will die. An insurance company can optimize your retirement income, your retirement paycheck, like no other company can do, and especially like no individual can do. We as individuals we cannot do this by ourselves. It's mathematically, statistically, and economically impossible for us to predict all of these variables, including our life expectancy. We're just guessing. So let's look at what sets an annuity apart when it's done right. So I'm going to introduce you to this. We're going to talk a little bit more about this, but this right here, it's a SPIA, Single Premium Immediate Annuity. And at the end of the day, all of the other fluff associated with annuities, the reason that annuities have bad names is because they're all these extra riders and market provisions and all this stuff is attached to an annuity, which costs you money and ultimately decreases income. The more guarantees, the more frills and benefits we ask for on annuity, what it really means is the less you get back in income. The way to get the most back in income is using the oldest, most traditional, plain vanilla annuity out there. We're going to talk more about this. It's a single premium immediate annuity. You give the insurance company a sum of money, they give you a guaranteed stream of income. Plain and simple. So here's what makes a SPIA is such a valuable tool. So I've got a little chart here, and we've got a male, age 65, a life only. So what you'll notice that this income lasts as long as this male lives, this individual lives. If he lives beyond 100, the income continues to go and go and go. Now again, the insurance company doesn't know how long this person's going to live, right? So let's say this is Steve. If you're out there, Steve, thanks for being the example here, but let's say this is Steve. The insurance company doesn't know how long Steve is going to live, but they do know on average how long males age 65 will live. So as they're paying this annuity income out to the individual, the income comes back based in interest and principal. So the money that Steve puts into this annuity, he gets back both the principal amount that he put in and any interest associated with the account. And you'll notice that in the beginning, most of the income that Steve is receiving is principal and interest. But the longer Steve lives, right at age 75, you'll notice that his income now has this little blue section up here. Let's highlight this with a different color so we can see that. That little blue section up there. And this is what makes annuities unlike anything else out there. It's called mortality credits. right? Up here in the example above, our fourth female, she passed away. And when that fourth female passed away, that extra $100, that doesn't mean the insurance company profits that and pockets that money and says, hey, great, female number 4 passed away, we have an extra $100 to put in our coffers. No, they pay each one of the surviving or living annuitants as if they knew exactly when each one of them are going to pass away. So this extra $33, they pay everyone a higher distribution, knowing that some people will pass away prematurely, some people will live longer than life expectancy, but at the end of the day, you get more income. That's really what it comes down to. So this third thing up here, this is mortality credits. And this is what separates insurance companies from any other financial tool out there. And when I say insurance companies, it's income annuities from any other tool out there. The longer this person lives, his income is made up by mortality credits. This is money that is left over from people who have passed away that had annuities. And you'll notice as this individual lives into 85 or 90, he has the peace of mind of whenever his time comes, he continues to maintain his income stays steady, and over time, more and more of his income is actually made up from mortality credits. So a lifetime income annuity has a higher payout rate based on age because the annuity holder gets paid mortality credits. In effect, this is the main reason you want to buy a lifetime income annuity. It's because you get paid mortality credits. Think about this. Nowhere else can you put your money and pool the risk associated with your life expectancy with other people. The annuity gives you the ability to do that. So let's go one step further in this, and let's actually just do a quick side-by-side comparison. So the ultimate income tool is really a SPIA, or if you don't want to take income immediately, it's a deferred income annuity. But a single premium immediate annuity, a SPIA, is simply you give the insurance company a sum of money, $100, $100,000, or $1 million, or whatever it is, and they turn around and start giving you an income stream 30 days from when you make that trade. And that income stream lasts as long as you live. So let's say we've got $100,000 and a male at age 65. If that $100,000 is in a traditional bucket, IRA, 401k, CDs, or anything like that, the individual has to manage his own life expectancy. He has no idea how long he's going to live, so he has to take a guess. And he starts taking somewhere between 4% to 2.3% or somewhere around there of an income stream out of his assets. So if he takes 2.3%, his income is $2,300 per year to try to make that money last, what did we say, 25 years. The old 4% rule, that was what people, used to say you could take, but it's now if we take 4% of $100,000, our income is $4,000. Now all we're doing is we're using, our own math here to try to predict how long we're going to live. This individual might pass away, at age 70. And what happened was he left a large portion of the money on the table. This individual might live all the way to age 100. And what that really means is he's probably going to run out of money. And, the whole reason of taking these low distribution rates is to try to make sure that that money lasts as long as possible. But let's say that this same male decides to say, okay, I'm going to shift my focus now a little bit, and I'm going to put the same $100,000 in a SPIA, right? SPIAs today, it depends on the company. You want to look at, there's a few different companies that offer them, but really, there are companies out there, and I just pulled this off of one, 6.9%. So $100,000 is now netting or yielding this individual $6,910 in annual income. Now it's really easy to see if we're comparing $6,910 to $2,300, $6,910 wins. If we're comparing $6,910 to $4,000, $6,910 wins. This is a way to get, let's pull up a quick rate calculator here. All right, if we're going to compare that, what is the difference? $2,300 versus $6,910, that's 200% more annual income. So if we're taking 2.3%, trying to figure out our own life expectancy, we're now taking up 200% more income when we transfer that risk to the insurance company. If we take a 4% distribution, still the 4,000 versus 6,910 is still 72% more income, and all we did is change where our money sits. Now, rather than having it sit in the stock market or a CD or under our bed, we have it sit with the insurance company, and ultimately what do we get? More income. One other way to look at this, let's say that this male is no longer 65. Let's say that this male is age 70 now. At age 70, when he's over here, nothing really changes, right? He might be able to take a higher distribution because he doesn't think he's going to live quite as long because he's taking income later in life. But automatically, when he goes to the insurance company, in fact, let's say he's 75 because that's the number I pulled. So at 75, the insurance company now would give him 9.46% off the same $100,000, right? They'd give him almost $10,000 in income simply because he's a little bit older. Right? What if you used a bank CD? Do banks offer different interest rates based on age? No. Not only does an income annuity give you more income than you could have if you try to manage the income stream on your own, but it solves so many other problems like market risk. It doesn't matter what happens in the market tomorrow. His income lasts as long as he lives. Simply put, income annuities can do things that no other product in the world can do. So I put a little table here just to kind of show you difference in payout rates for males and females. Now remember, annuities are based on math, they're based on life expectancy. So we know that females historically live longer than males. So if a female went to an insurance company at the age of 65 and they traded $100,000 of income, the female would get $523 per month of income for the rest of their life, 6.28%. The male would get, male, age 65, would get 6.91. Now, what's the difference here, right? Well, the insurance company, using math, probability, and science, they know that they're going to have to make the income stream last longer for a female than they are a male. So they're willing to pay the male a higher distribution rate simply based on life expectancy. Now, you'll notice the older you are, your distribution rates go up. Now, with annuities, I'm not going to go into every type of way you can combine this, but with these type of annuities, you can combine a husband and wife. You can put guarantees on there to make sure if you do pass away, the income from your annuity continues on with a surviving spouse or with a grandchild or anything like that. So there's a lot of things that you can do with these annuities. Bottom line, the more guarantees we ask for from the insurance company, the less we're going to get in income. But at the end of the day, the one thing that a SPIA will give you or an income annuity will give you is a guaranteed pension-like income that is higher than you can get if you're trying to manage it on your own. And it's an income stream that you cannot outlive. It will last as long as you do. It's not tied to the market, and there are many tax benefits from the annuities as well. So, that's a whole mouthful. That's a lot of stuff there, but really at the end of the day, these annuities solve so many problems. So here's just a quick comparison, right? So here's interest rates, and here are time frame in years. We all know that interest rates have gone down over the years, but notice how annuities compare to interest rates, right? If you put money into a SPIA back in 1987, you would be getting close to a 12% payout rate every single year for the rest of your life, as long as you lived. If you put money into a corporate bond back in those times, you were getting an interest rate or a payout rate higher than bonds, higher than 10-year T-bills. In year 2000, we've noticed rates go down, but historically speaking, we can see that annuities, your payout rate is higher than any of these other things out there, treasury bonds and corporate bonds and things like that. And this is where people put their money to try to keep it safe, earn a decent rate of return because they're trying to manage their own life expectancy. An annuity is so simple. You give the insurance company a sum of money, they turn around and they give you a pension-like income. Now, you don't want to dump all of your money in annuities, but what you do want to do is you want to have enough in the annuity to give you the basics of your retirement. So we're going to go through that here in just a minute. So let's go down and let's talk about how to distinguish bad annuities from good annuities, okay? So there's so much negativity around annuities, and justifiably so. Most annuities are sold with so much garbage associated with them, and at the end of the day, you pay for all of that garbage. If you buy an annuity that's tied to the market, that gives you all these frills and benefits of long-term care and market performance and income lasting for your lifetime and your spouse's lifetime and your grandchildren's lifetime. I mean, there's so many things you can add onto these annuities, but at the end of the day, you pay for it. If you want a higher stream of income, you choose the one annuity, single premium, immediate annuity, or deferred income annuity. All it is, you trade money with the insurance company, they trade you a stream of income. So to give you this analogy, I'm gonna use a car. It's no longer in existence, but if anyone on this webinar remembers the El Camino, right? And if we look at the El Camino, in fact, I'm going to draw the mountain here, right? If we go back to the financial mountain, there's two sides of the financial mountain. There's the growth side, and most people are focused on the rate of return, and there is the income side, right, of our financial plan. Many people, or many insurance companies, as a way to try to combat and be be feasible and be, have a good position for other financial products, they tried to combine two different things. Aspia is only focused on income. That's it. It's only focused on income. And, so many people are so focused on rate of return that insurance companies started generating other types of annuities. So here's the analogy, an El Camino. An El Camino is, let's see, I'm going to put my drawing skills to work here. All right. That's horrible, but that's a truck. And this probably looks about the same. That's a car, right? So truck and car. And in El Camino, what it tried to do is it tried to take the benefits of a truck and the benefits of a car, and it tried to combine them into one vehicle, the El Camino. You've got some truck-like qualities, you've got some car-like qualities, but at the end of the day, when we look at the El Camino, is the El Camino a better truck than a truck is by itself? No, right? A truck by itself has more towing capability, has a bigger bed. A truck is a better truck than an El Camino. At the end of the day, is an El Camino a better car than a car is by itself? No, if you go and buy a car, you've got, extra seating, you've got trunk space, all of that kind of stuff. And an El Camino tries to take the best of a car and the best of a truck and put it all together. But at the end of the day, you don't end up with a very good truck and you don't end up with a very good car. So today, most annuities are trying to do this one thing. They're trying to say, okay, we are the one-stop solution for your growth and your income all in one. And at the end of the day, the annuities that try to combine both sides of this equation, they don't give you good growth and they don't give you more income, right? An annuity is really built based on income. And what happens is on the back end, when you start trying to get income out of these annuities that are trying to combine and give you all this growth, you don't ultimately get back as much income as you would have gotten had you just focused on income only. So if your annuity or the annuity that you've been sold or the annuity that you're looking at is tied to the market and has floors and caps and limits and extra riders, then number one, you're paying more for that annuity, and number two, ultimately you're sacrificing the one thing that an annuity should be for, which is income. So if you have more questions on that, so let's talk, but that's one way to distinguish. Just think of it as an El Camino. Are you buying an El Camino, or are you buying, if you want a truck, buy a truck. If you want a car, buy a car. Don't try to combine the two of them, okay? So here's how the annuity should be used. When we're determining our retirement income, we want to break things down into two different categories. We want to break things down into your absolute necessities in retirement. And for necessities, I'm going to put needs on here. And then we want to break our income or our goals down into wants, right? So as you're sitting down and thinking about your retirement income, right, we have to think about the things that you truly need. What is it that you need to establish a foundation in your retirement portfolio? Needs must be facilitated by fixed income. I mean, this is what will give you the peace of mind that no matter how long you live, you can always keep the lights on, you can always pay the mortgage payment, you can always put food on the table, all of that type of stuff. And this is where Aspia is perfect, right? So as you sit down, think about your needs. The needs are housing, which would include utilities, internet, TV, upkeep on your home, that kind of stuff, healthcare, Medicare. Medicare and Medicaid will not be able to sufficiently cover all of your healthcare costs as you grow older. So you want to budget in and factor in those into your planning. Food and personal spending, transportation, debt, that type of stuff. And the way I encourage people to look at this is to look at, number one, if you have a pension, add in Social Security, and whatever the shortfall is between your needs and what your fixed income is, this is where you want to add Aspia in. If you need an extra $20,000 of income, trade enough of your assets to get that extra $20,000 of income. The next thing you want to budget for are your wants, right? So I guess one thing, your paycheck would be, your needs, and then your wants would be your paycheck. If we add up travel and if you want to buy an RV, if you want to do some extra things that you might have been putting off, extra hobbies that you want to do, fishing, yoga, gym memberships, all that kind of stuff. These are things that are not essential for you putting food on the table and keeping the lights on. but this is where you want to start to budget this in. And for your wants, you could kind of expose the rest of your savings to upside. Maybe this can come from the markets. Maybe this can come from an insurance policy. Maybe it can come from savings or a CD. Or if you just don't want to think about it and you don't want to manage it, could you not also have an annuity cover that as well, right? If you said, I need $30,000 a year on average to cover all of my wants, all of the excess traveling I'm going to do, going visiting the grandkids, or the extra classes, or whatever it is you're going to do, you could also have a SPIA cover that as well. And that way you know you funded both your needs and your wants in retirement. So there's a lot of different ways to do this. There's laddering strategies. You might not put everything into one SPIA. You might have a little bit in one SPIA with one company and one with another company. Talk to your financial advisor. Come talk to me. I'll walk you through a lot of different strategies. But at the end of the day, that's really how we want to think of annuities. Annuities are nothing more than paychecks and playchecks for retirement. Okay? Let's get into solution number 3. Running a little bit long on time. I get too excited here. So solution number 3, how to double your retirement income and have the peace of mind that you'll never run out of money. So this is a big, bold promise, I know. So let's dive into it and let's really look at how we can put everything together that we've learned, not only in this webinar, but in some of the other stuff that we talk about as well, okay? All right, so let's do a little bit of a deeper dive on insurance companies in general, okay? So there's really dual economic risks that insurance companies are uniquely positioned to solve. And if we look at it from an individual's life standpoint, an individual faces the risk of living too long, right? When they move into retirement, do they live into their hundreds? Do they live into their late 90s? And how do they support and fund a retirement that long? But is there not also a risk of dying too soon or passing away too soon? And if you think about it, let's say that an individual moves into retirement at age 65 and trying to manage this on their own, they plan on trying to make their retirement last 30 years, right? So between them, in fact, let's make it 2, between them and their spouse, they know that the probability of one of them living into their 90s is pretty high, right? And so if they're trying to make their retirement last for 30 total years, they need to go from age 65 to age 95. From this couple's standpoint, they face 2 risks. They face the risk of what if they do live into their 90s and beyond. But on the flip side of that equation, what if they tragically pass away in their early 70s? Did they not leave much of their retirement dreams, aspirations, and funding on the table? And since we don't know how long we're going to live, whether we're going to live too long or pass away too soon, this is where insurance companies can come in, and they actually sit on both sides of this equation. They can help people with annuities and give them an income stream that they cannot outlive, but they can also, when set up right, they can position through life insurance to fund and cover the fact of passing away too soon, leaving this world before it was, I guess, the average life expectancy time to do so. So an insurance company sits on both ends of this spectrum, and using actuarial science, math, and data, they can really help each person prepare for that and make sure they get the most out of their retirement savings, whether they pass away too soon, live too long, or make it right to the average life expectancy. So let's look at how we can combine both life insurance and annuities together to get the ultimate financial outcome. So I'm going to go down one. Now, if you've not watched any of the previous webinars, you know that we share a lot about cash flow banking. Some people call it infinite banking, the perpetual wealth strategy, whatever you want to call it. You can maximum fund a life insurance policy, right? And when you put money into a life insurance policy that's focused on cash value accumulation, you get some very unique benefits. You get some living benefits, and you also get a death benefit. So let's just really quickly kind of summarize what these benefits are. Number 1, in a life insurance policy, when we build it to focus on cash value, you will have a guaranteed rate of return plus a dividend. Now, if we set it up with insurance companies that have been around for a long, long time, they've paid dividends for hundreds of years. Today, these policies, give or take, are doing somewhere between 5 and 6%, and there's variations and differences for that, but somewhere between those two things. Your money inside of a life insurance policy is 100% safe and guaranteed, a private contract between you, a private individual, and a private life insurance company. A life insurance contract, when it's qualified as life insurance, is one of only 3 vehicles that will give you tax-free distributions. So you can get the money out that you put in a life insurance contract 100% tax-free. And then your capital, your cash value, is liquid. And we're not going to go into all the aspects of using this liquidity, but really what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about how you can take income while you're alive from a life insurance policy, literally taking cash value out as a source of income. Now, you also have a death benefit, and when we set up policies this way, the death benefit's not our 100% focus, but with the death benefit, we know that we now have a sum of money that's going to pass on also tax-free upon our death. And this death benefit, what it really functions as is it functions as a permission slip. Okay, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that here in a minute. And with some life insurance contracts, you can use the death benefits, at least a portion of it, for long-term care or for terminal illness as well. I'm not going to go into that right now. But how do we use the cash flow banking along with an annuity to maximize retirement income? So let's go into the next phase and let's do just a quick case study to kind of prove this out. All right, so if we've got, let's say we've got husband, wife, right, couple, going into retirement. Let's just say they're both 55. They've now learned about, positioning assets more for income, and their plan is to retire in 10 years, right? So they want to retire at 65. Their goal, let's say that they've got $1 million, right? And we'll just use the Social Security from last time. Rough estimate, average Social Security for this type of individual would be right around $26,000. And their income goal is they want to have 80% of their last year's working income. So they're shooting for an $80,000 income goal in retirement. So this is what they're shooting for. So if we take this couple and we route them through the conventional planning, then this couple, like most people, probably has the majority of their $1 million. The majority of their $1 million all associated with qualified plans, right? And so now they're in a position where their retirement income, if they're going to take 4% or 2.3% of $1 million, so we said if we want that money to last and if it's allocated to the market, 2.3% of $1 million is going to be $23,000 plus Social Security of $26,000. Their total income coming in is going to be $49,544,000. So if we take conventional planning, they're now on, with $1 million at retirement, so let's say from age 55 to 65, that's what they ended up with, and they move into retirement with $1 million, this is what they can expect in retirement income. Now, if they want more than this, right, because this is the percent to their goal, they're only 62% to their income goal of $80,000. So if they want more income, what are they forced to now do? They're now forced to work longer and accumulate more assets. They're forced to take more risk. They're forced to increase above 2.3% distribution and maybe take more income from their assets. But all the while, now they're moving into retirement not with peace of mind, not with security, not with guarantees, but with risk, frustration, anxiety. They're nervous about market performance. And then ultimately, what kind of legacy does this family leave? The goal here, if this is successful, is they spend their portfolio down to $1, and the last day that they're going to run out of money, they die the very next day before they run out of money, and there's really ultimately zero legacy left behind. So let's say this couple here, at age 55, they kind of got wind of some of these teachings, and they decided to reposition their assets. And they take this $1 million, and rather than having it allocated to the market, let's say that they put $750,000 to a SPIA, right? And then they take $250,000, and from age 55 to age 65, they slowly build up the cash value of their life insurance policy, and now they have the same assets. It's the same $1 million, but their assets are now spread out over different products, right? They've got a SPIA and they've got cash value in a life insurance policy. So how is this going to work? So the annuity is going to give them a 6.9% distribution rate, give or take. There's some things that we could do to make it a little bit higher. There's things that we could do to make it lower depending on what guarantees they want. But that 6.9% distribution rate is now going to give them $51,825 in income. We've got the Social Security, right? And that's now going to give them $78,369. So their income, just off of fixed income, Social Security and SPIA, guaranteed for the rest of their lives, is now almost to the goal. But on top of this, they've got $250,000 in a cash value life insurance policy that, remember, in addition, they're not putting more money in, but now they're earning a guaranteed rate of return and a dividend independent of market performance. They could actually take about $13,400 from the cash value out as income every single year and still preserve the death benefit. Now, on these policies, I've built this out so each spouse has a death benefit, and the death benefit really now serves as a permission slip, and it really covers this asset, this $750,000, this SPIA. When the spouse passes away, the income from that SPIA stops as well. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that, but from an income standpoint, taking income from cash value, taking income from a SPIA and Social Security, they would end up with let's make this green here kind of stand out, $91,769 in income for the rest of their life. They are now at 115% of their retirement goal. They're the people that have retired with peace of mind. It doesn't matter what happens in the market. It doesn't matter what happens with how long they live. They know their income is fixed, and ultimately they will leave a legacy, and we're going to talk about that right now. So that's case study. Let's go one step deeper. So the death benefit on an insurance policy is the ultimate permission slip, and let's talk about what I mean by that. Okay, so husband and wife in retirement, if they each have a cash value, we'll just put cash flow bank. If they each have a cash flow policy, they move into retirement with cash value and a death benefit on each of them. Cash value, let's see if I can spell that right. Cash value plus death benefit. Now, what's the one thing that this couple doesn't know? They have no idea how long they're going to live. If they don't know that, then everything else about their retirement plan is really a guess. They're guessing about how long they're going to live. But in retirement, averages don't mean anything. The only thing that means anything is how long you individually will live. Now, since we don't know that, the death benefit becomes the permission slip. So let's say the husband lives to age 85, right? And that $750,000 death benefit that we used in the last case study up above, if we split that down in between two death benefits, ultimately what this would be is each spouse would have a $325,000 death benefit. So let's say this spouse lives to age 85 and then he passes away. The $350,000 death benefit would go to the surviving spouse. That surviving spouse, now if she's also age 85, she could convert that $350,000 death benefit into an immediate income stream at that point and do it at a much, much higher rate. Remember, we kind of went through, let's scroll back up here really quick to this, right? At age 85, right, if a female converts money to a SPIA, right, simply because she's older, 13.41% distribution rate, right? So if we take that $325,000 times, let's see, 13.41, whoops, $43,000 of income she generates right off that, tax-free because it's coming from a death benefit. So ultimately, if we go back down here and just kind of finish this thought out, the death benefits from the spouse is what further funds the retirement of the surviving spouse. The death benefit from the remaining spouse, this would pass on and really be the estate or be the legacy to future generations. So many of the people that I talk to, they want to leave something to their kids, but they're so concerned about, not having enough for their own retirement that they either, they don't spend their assets because they're trying to leave it to their kids, and it just goes on and on. So I've been long-winded. There's so much more to talk about here. Ultimately, what this comes down to is it comes down to increasing your retirement income and using tools that you control, using tools that are geared and focused on income. And that's really what this is all about. You've been preparing and saving for retirement your entire life. So for some added follow-up on this, a lot of the information I got from this, or for this webinar, really came from a book that I read called Paychecks and Playchecks. Tom Hegna, awesome book, talks all about SPIAs. You can learn more about annuities and the annuities that you want to avoid and how to use insurance and annuities together to maximize income. So go check that out, Paychecks and Playchecks. Remember, you don't need a better rate of return, you need a better distribution rate. For more information on the types of tools that we talked about and where you can get some more information, let me just pull down this site here. So, this is the site where I've housed all the education. So today we just talked about perpetuating income. If you want more information on how to grow your wealth, right, how these policies fit in, you can go here, watch some webinars on this. If you ever want to schedule an appointment and talk more about how we can use this strategy together, you can contact me and we can schedule an appointment. But at the end of the day, this is really all about you. And it's putting you in a position where you can have more income, 20 to 80% more easily, and have the peace of mind of never running out of income. And also be able to leave a legacy for the future as well. So I hope you found this information helpful, and it's been an hour, so hopefully you're still with me, and thanks for taking the time. Have a great day.